So these are the three foundational problems or deficiencies or shortcomings with SharePoint. They're not trivial. They're not nice to haves. They're foundations. The rest of record keeping is built on top of these three. This is a basement, a foundation built of quicksand. So there's three areas: a file plan, and when I use the term file plan, I'm referring to a retention schedule. There is no proper suitable structure in SharePoint, native SharePoint, to deal with a file plan correctly the way we need it done. Disposition is the art and alchemy of deleting documents in accordance with that retention schedule under the careful supervision of a trained professional records person. SharePoint simply does not have that. We need a red light system, 3 stages, which says don't delete anything until I tell you it's okay to delete it and I'm satisfied with it. That's what makes it legally defensible. What's out of the box is a green light system that just goes ahead and deletes it, millions of records while you sleep at night, okay? So there truly isn't any element of a proper, legally defensible 3-stage disposition cycle. Finally, case records. That's kind of a new language. Few records professionals use that language, but it constitutes 50% of all modern corporate records. And SharePoint doesn't handle case records properly. So in a few minutes, we'll dive deeper into that. But it simply doesn't handle it right. So that means that at least 50% of all your records won't be handled correctly and therefore cannot be subject to disposition. So this is pretty serious stuff. Hence, there are now, as of today, 4 software companies who build what I call add-ins. All 4 are down the hall. I'm delighted to see that. And all 4 are in the room today. So, got to be careful. But the purpose of all 4 is to fill that gap and to correct the 72 where they need correcting. So 2 American companies, 1 Canadian and 1 Australian. So this is what you get with all 4. It doesn't matter which of the 4 you buy, you're going to get, as a minimum, the Fortune 1000 capabilities, 105. You'll get what you need, and then some. One of the 4 products will take you all the way up to 168, the full 5015 level. You all get something which I think is the most powerful and important innovation in record keeping in 25 years. Rules-based record keeping. And we're going to look very closely at that because I think that's what's going to make your project succeed. And of course, you get good old physical records management. So there are 8 things that I've identified that I think you ought to know in order to make a good, intelligent decision about which of these 4 to get. We've covered a couple of them. This is number 3. What exactly is inside SharePoint? What's the problem with it? And if we're going to buy a product to plug in, why do we need to know this at all? Here's why. Of the 4 vendors, one of them builds on top of the existing native features. Therefore, if you choose that product, you're going to have to understand these native features because you're going to be using them. The other 3 don't take that approach. So we'll make it quick, but we'll just quickly cover the out-of-the-box record keeping. There are 4 elements to it. IMPs, Information Management Policies, the Content Organizer, the Record Center, and an capability called Declaration. Those are the 4 elements of native record keeping. Here's how it's intended to work. You create policies consisting of 1 or more stages. An individual stage is a rule that says after a certain period of time, typically expressed in years, take a certain action. For example, after 2 years, delete the thing. And you can bolt multiple stages onto each other. Now, this single policy with 1 or more stages can be applied to all the documents in a site, all the documents bearing a particular content type, or all the documents in a given location. Okay, so as long as you have all documents about contract 707 in that location and only the documents about that contract in that location, then this will work just fine. Okay, so that's the really high level of the out-of-box approach.